submission is kindness. When you are kind to the woman, and you're not good to her, and you are actually compassionate, you don't even need to tell her to be, submissive.
Yeah.
She'll automatically be submissive because she feels protected.
Yes.
So it's not something you tell.
Yeah, it's not about muscles.
Yeah, it's
and
about how the woman feels.
Yeah.
And if she feels safe in your presence, if she feels like kindness, and if she feels compassion, she'll automatically submit. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to another episode of the Cultured Voices podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Fatima Muhammad, and I think I am with one of the most incredible women, mashallah, tabarakallah. I think I've been following you for a bit, and I love how very confident for such a young girl, mashallah. Would you want to introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, so my name is Mariam Hussein. I'm a gender advocate, a human rights practitioner, if you say. I wear a lot of hats. I have an organization called I Am Worth organization. So basically what we do is we empower women through financial literacy, economic empowerment, those kind of things. We tackle things like gender-based violence because, we cannot talk about education without women empowerment. We cannot talk about poverty without women empowerment. All these things interlink with women empowerment. So basically we're just pro-women. But just to give you a thought on how I Am Worth was born. So I come from the informal settlements in Kenya. So at a young age, I already knew that I wanted to start something. I just didn't know exactly what it was. So I had this idea of helping children from the streets. I used to do that, by the way, when I was in high school. And after high school, I used to go to the street, feed the young people from the street, just bring people together. And then they say, let's Fatima, let's make some money and just go to the street and feed these guys.
Oh, that's so lovely.
Yeah, like it was more like a charity based. And then I met somebody, a very good friend of mine called Ben from Amani Kibra. And I always mention his name because I like giving credit to people who have uplifted me. And then he said, I don't understand why you're doing this in this concept in regards to just giving food to the street children.
Why you can do more?
You can do more because you have a passion for it. It's something that it's inbuilt. So why don't you start an organization? At that point, I didn't have an idea what an organization was. That's now 2017.
How old are you?
At that point, I'm 20.
Oh, mashallah.
I'm 20.
That's young.
Yeah, I was quite young. So at that point, I'm 20. And then he tells me about an organization. I have no idea. I'm just married. I'm just understanding the dynamics of marriage. I'm pregnant. So much was just happening at the same time. And 2 years down the line, I started now like learning. At that point, I didn't. So 2 years down the line, 2019, I started learning and understanding what does it mean to run an organization.
Okay.
So over the years.
Did you start at the time?
Yeah, I started, but now I didn't understand the magnitude of it. Even today, sometimes I sit and I just rewind those days and I couldn't see myself like not
running it.
I couldn't see myself doing the things that I'm doing right now. I knew I was doing.
And you were a young mother at the time?
I was actually pregnant when he told me like, you can do better. You can start an organization. This is how it's done. And I didn't understand the magnitude at that point. But alhamdulillah, over the years I learned, I went back to the drawing board and I said, okay, if I do want to make change, so if an organization is how I'll make change, let's do an organization. So you can see moving from just helping children in the street to having an organization that actually uplifts women and young people.
That's amazing.
So we're not just helping people with food in the street the way I was envisioning it, but now we are advocating, we are sensitizing, we are going to houses and talking about intimate partner violence, things that actually send these children to the street. So we are.
When was the time that you actually started I Am Worth?
2019 officially. Yeah, I started 2019. So 2019 we started at very small scale, but over the years now, today we're here. Yeah, we are here working with big organizations, our representations at the UN and things like that, and human rights and the UN Women.
And what is your background?
My background as a person.
Yeah. No, like your background as professional, like your professional background.
So I've done procurement and logistics at KCA University.
That's completely different.
I know. And that's the thing. Like, I don't know.
I don't know why I thought like you did IR or
Everybody
like
thinks that.
something to do with like political science.
Wallahi, everybody thinks that. And the thing is, I always tell my sisters, I don't think I will ever settle until I do law.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I would not settle. And everybody
You still want to do it?
Yeah, I still want to do it. Like it's what I wanted to do, but my life took a really different turn. But alhamdulillah, marriage is a good thing. And I got married when I was very young. I was 20 when I got married. And I went to school. I enrolled at USIU and I started doing finance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so your background is finance?
No.
Okay.
I wanted to do finance because, I'm just from high school and I think maths was still in my head. And it's like, finance is something that I like and everything. I'm telling you, I didn't understand the magnitude of the organization. Like if at that point I understood that I would build an organization, I think I would have gone to political science, international relations, but it wasn't
that of a big deal
and
at the time. You didn't understand the magnitude of it.
And if I didn't meet Ben, I would not have understood the magnitude as well, because everybody who was around me.
And how did you meet Ben?
Ben saw me on Facebook with everything I was doing. I'm very outspoken and very vibrant and everything. So there's this project I was doing with the Nubian community, and then he saw me, then he DM'd me and said, I want you to come to Kibra and I want you to do ABCD for me. And when we started, he was asking me, what is your plan? The guy saw future. The guy saw a future.
Is he so much older?
He's so much older.
Oh, okay, mashallah.
So he's one of my first mentors. He saw me just like, you're going to be big. You're going to do big things.
I love that.
And I don't want you to do just this community, what do you call it? Helping the children on the street. I want you to start an organization. And he put it down my throat.
Wow.
So, and
that's
today
beautiful.
I'm here because of him. So
at a young age, I think you met him when you were 20.
I met him when I was 19.
19?
Yeah, wow. I met him when I was 19, but now he approached me in regards to the time when I was 20.
Okay.
So USIU, I started doing finance, and then I got pregnant, obviously, because I was just married, and then I dropped. And then I decided, let me have my baby. Yeah. And then I have my baby 1 year down the line. I go back to USIU and enroll. And then I find myself, I'm pregnant again with my second born.
MashaAllah.
So I said, okay, because I saw how it didn't work. This journey is very different for every woman, I keep saying. Yeah. So for me, I felt like if the first did not work, I don't think it will work with the second one. So let me just not even just go back. Let me just take a break. And then I took a break. And my children all are 2 years apart. So immediately my second born was 1 year. I got pregnant again. So with my third born. So after my third born is when now I said, okay, let me just finish this degree thing. And I went back to KCA and enrolled for procurement and logistics. And that's about it.
But during this, after now you're done with the procurement, that's when you started I Am Worth?
No.
Okay.
I Am Worth started in 2019.
Okay, and when is the time that you're doing procurement? That was way after or before?
3 years ago.
Oh, wow, okay.
3 years ago,
So you were doing it while I Am Worth still
it's
functions?
still running. Yeah, it's
That's
still
amazing.
functioning. Because I did want to do IR, but now the time, USIU is very strict in regards to their classes and everything.
Classes,
and KCA was much accommodating, but they don't have IR.
Okay.
So, and I needed that certificate. Sometimes they say it's not about what you do. Yeah. It's about getting that certificate.
It's about being learned.
It's about being learned. So I was just like,
At least
let me just finish this space in my. Let me finish this phase, and maybe in my masters, maybe I can do IR or something. But I'm always saying everywhere, I will still do law, and everybody just don't do law.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that.
I still have a passion. Like I just feel like I won't settle myself until I do it.
I love
But procurement is coming in handy so much in the organization, because remember, I'm the director, and I'm the founder, so I'm the vision bearer. Okay. One or another, I have to understand HR, I have to understand procurement, and I have to understand finance. One or another, I'm not the expert in all of them. Yeah, we have
but
people,
you have a little bit of understanding.
But I have to have a little bit of understanding. Yes,
mashallah. Yeah. I think we've been yapping, but let's get to the topic of the day. Yeah. And one of the topics of the big topic that we're handling today is women empowerment, but the actual reality behind it. Yeah. Sometimes I think a lot of the time we hear women empowerment here and there, but then we don't really understand first what is the essence of women empowerment, and then what are the realities that women face after they get empowered. Because there's what we think empowerment is going to do for us, and then the reality on the ground. So just a quick question so that we can understand the basis behind it. When you hear the word empowerment, what does this mean to you?
When I hear empowerment, I see myself. I see, like right now I'm seated with you, I see you.
Yeah.
You know, empowerment, it's just like feminism.
Yeah.
Let me give you a concept. It's just like feminism. Everybody has their own understanding and articulation of that word.
Yeah.
But in reality, empowerment is just having that space to be
Who you are.
authentic, who you are, to speak for yourself, to say, to be self-aware. That is empowerment. It doesn't. You don't need to sit here and do podcasts to be empowered.
Yeah.
You can be at home and you're
Yeah.
empowered. I keep
Yeah.
saying this. You know, you can be raising your children and you're empowered. Empowerment is education. You know, empowerment is information. Empowerment is exposure. Empowerment is self-aware. Like all that is empowerment, but that's not what society sees as empowerment. Society sees empowerment as authority.
Oh.
So, and when they see a power as an authority, women are supposed to be empowered because women are not supposed to be authoritative. So for me, empowerment is education, knowledge, information, all those things. I keep saying even, what do you call it? Women who stay at home. What do you call women who stay at home? I'm looking for the word.
The
Housewives.
stay-at-home
wives. They are empowered. If
They are.
you have education, if you have knowledge, you have information, you have exposure, you are empowered.
If that is what you want to do.
If that's what you want to do, you are empowered. But now the society is putting empowerment in another scope.
Yep.
Society is putting empowerment in the form
In
of
the
authority.
working woman.
Yes, in the working woman in authority.
Yes. I agree. I think you literally took my words because that's exactly what I think empowerment is too. For me, empowerment is for you to understand what you want as a woman and for you to be able to speak it. And to say it. And, you know, like so that you can go around, like, you know, in the world, being very authentic to yourself and knowing what you want and living that life authentic to you. When what the opposite of women empowerment is when you're living a life that is not true to you. For example, if you're doing things under the rules of maybe a husband or a father and it's not true to you. You know what I mean? That's, I think if we mention, because I was also a stay-at-home wife for the longest time, and also a stay-at-home mom, which I think is the best thing that you can do. But for me, I was very happy at that because at the time, that's what I really, really needed.
Exactly.
But just one thing to say about that is that if really it makes you happy to do that,
please do it.
Please go ahead and do it. If working and, you know, like earning a living is what makes you happy, do that. For me, that's how I see empowerment. It's just for you to be able to live your life the way you want to live.
The way you want to live it. To just choose yourself and be okay with your choices. You know, like having choices. That's empowerment. Having a choice to say, I want to stay at home or I want to do. Let me tell you, I keep saying, you know, even before we touch, let's say, for example, women empowerment. As a person who works in the gender space, we tackle things like gender. It gives you a scope on why all this information and all this fight is going back and forth. Because right now we're going to talk about things like even women being a target, empowered women being a target of GBV. Why are they being a target of GBV? So we start from scratch. We go back to gender, gender concept. I keep saying in the gender concept, there's only two. It's only man and woman, right? And I like giving an example of the species of animals. So, for example, let's say we have a lion and we have the lioness. Who's the king of the jungle?
The lion.
The lion. The lion doesn't do much. It just walks like the king. Thinks like
Who
the
hunts?
king. Like he just looks like the king. It doesn't even literally do anything. It was just given to him. Like you are the king. And then the lioness does all the work and everything, which is, you know, a good way of doing things. I don't mind. But there's something that I use in regards to lion to make people understand in regards to empowerment. When you strip the lion of being the king of the jungle, what does the lion become?
That's a good question.
Nothing. Nothing. So before even we touch empowerment, when you understand those concepts, it makes you see why empowerment is a problem in the society right now, why people are seeing it as a problem. You just look at the lion and the lioness. The lion did nothing to get the power it has. It is the king of the jungle by force, by constitution, by law. It is the king of the jungle. But when we pull it, what does it become?
Nothing.
It can even become lesser than the lioness. Or it can become an equal. So
Probably
now,
less, because now the lioness has a lot of work to do, and the lion
you
is
get
doing
it.
nothing.
Now, when you get that concept, now bring human beings.
True.
Bring human
Yeah.
beings on the context.
Yeah.
So empowered women bring that concept to life.
Yeah.
Empowered women, because society has put empowerment as a source or as a sense of authority. So empowered women change the balance of life.
Yeah.
Empowered women have a voice.
Yeah.
So the lion is no longer the lion, because you can also speak for yourself.
Yeah.
Now, kings is very different from democracy.
Yeah.
Let's understand this. Empowerment for women brings democracy in place. When you're empowered, you bring democracy.
You can speak. Now you have a voice, and now
You negotiate for yourself.
Exactly.
You say, this is not what I want. This is how I like it. This is not what I prefer. That's what empowerment brings. But that's not the order of life. The order of life, in the gender of man and woman, we have the king, and then we have the lioness.
Yeah.
So right now, empowerment is removing the king of the jungle and bringing democracy in place.
And equality.
And equality,
Yeah.
and equity, and parity, and all those things.
That's amazing to think about. But for me, I think a lot of the people, when they hear gender-based violence, for example, they only hear women.
Yeah.
And that's really not the case. That's why it's called gender-based violence, because it's both.
Yeah.
And as a society also, one thing I really also want to debunk when it comes to women empowerment, when a woman is empowered, doesn't mean that we're stripping the man.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do, one has nothing to do with the other.
With the other one.
A woman can be empowered and a man can still do his thing.
Yes.
Like for example, even in an institute of marriage, once you hear like, oh my goodness, the woman is working, the woman is doing her thing, she's happy. Like sometimes people see that as a negativity to the husband or to the man, which is completely not true. Because now you have a woman who's happy, who's thriving.
Yeah.
And then obviously, shouldn't that also make the marriage and the society thrive, right?
Yeah.
So I think one thing I always say about empowerment in general and women empowerment specifically is that women were always empowered.
Yeah.
They were always empowered.
Yeah.
You know, like even if we like listen to the stories of our prophets,
Yeah.
women were always empowered.
Always.
It's just that now they just see empowerment in a different light.
In a different
When you
light.
see a woman as, if a woman is empowered, now she's being authoritative. One doesn't have anything to do with one another.
doesn't.
That's
It
why I really
doesn't.
wanted us to first touch on like what we understand of empowerment. And I wish, like even for the audience listening, just go and research what it is. Don't just hear things, and like sometimes, because the society sometimes can have a different aspect of empowerment, which is not the reality.
Yeah.
So one thing I wanted, another question I wanted to ask is, let's go back to society. Sometimes the society thinks that when a woman is empowered, they hear confidence, loud, independent, and instead of hearing those words as those, what they see is difficult. A woman, she's difficult. She cannot be handled anymore, right? Because now she is too much.
Yeah.
But when a man has the exact same, what is it called? Characteristics, they are seen as a leader.
Yeah.
A great man. When they see the exact same things a woman say, like the women are seen as difficult. Do you think that's true?
It is true. Of course, definitely it's true. But I like to say, like, society is just society. And society is made up of me and you. Right now, we're just making the society. Even with this podcast, we're creating the society. But one thing about society that they tend not to understand, empowered women are the most, or can be the most submissive women.
Very much so.
It has nothing to do with the other. These things are very separate. Like society is just trying to, create a rift in something that is not there. You being a leader, you being an empowered woman, having a space to speak and say and negotiate for yourself, and having financial literacy, knowing that I am in this space or I'm doing A, B, C, D because I want to do it, not because I'm doing it for survival. I'm doing it because I can actually walk away if I don't want to do it. I can walk away from this job because I'll be employed in another job because I am competent. You get it?
Yeah.
Those are not kibr. Those are just, it's normal. We are all humans at the end of the day. So I don't know why that rift actually is created, but society is made up of me and you.
Yep.
And another concept that I also like to put in place is it takes a very strong man to handle an empowered woman, because now men were not taught anything rather than just how to be boys. They were not taught, how not to be girls.
Yeah.
I had that.
Oh
one.
yeah. Oh
they
my
were
goodness.
They were not even taught
girls.
how to be men. They were just taught you cannot be a girl. You cannot be a woman. You know, like even the worst the worst insult men get ni uko na umama.
Oh yeah.
You get it? So men, the biggest fear of men is becoming women.
A woman.
They were not even taught how to be men themselves. Not like time memorial where men were just told this is how a man acts. Right now, men are not told how to be men. They're just told don't be a woman. So now they do not know. All they know is I cannot be a woman. Now this person, you bring another species. Women evolve. I keep telling people, women evolve by time. Women, even you can see with other species of animals, the female are very aggressive and very, I don't know, we just
vivacious.
Very different.
We are.
So you can see like when technology is happening, information is there, knowledge is there, exposure is there, women are embracing it more than men.
Yep.
So our minds are evolving. We're not in the same space. Yeah. When somebody compares and says, my mom used to not do ABCD and you're doing ABCD, I ask, was your mom empowered? Did she have information, exposure to technology, education to the level that I have? We're not the same. You know, I have all these things at the palm of my hands. She didn't. If she did, she would be acting the same way I'm saying. You know, the same things I'm saying is the same things she would be saying. Yeah. So it takes a man who has sat down and understand that his masculinity, I love using the lion. The lion literally does nothing, but it knows it is the lion. It is the constitution.
Just because the woman goes and, like the lioness goes and hunts, doesn't mean that he's any less masculine.
Thank you. Yeah. So it takes a very strong man to know that I am the lion and I do not need to...
And it's not a competition.
Say anything.
Yeah, and it's not a competition.
And those men who handle strong women, you know, like they're the best because also they're also in touch so much with their feminine side because now they have compassion, they have understanding, you know, they're so keen. Fatima, how was your work? Yeah. They don't think you coming back from work late is a form of disrespect to them. They understand you're actually working, we're in this space together, we are growing together. You know, those relationships where people are growing together, those relationships. But it takes a very strong man. Most men are not taught that. Most men are just taught, don't be a girl, don't be a boy, don't do this, don't do that, but not how to actually handle. If Fatima is empowered in terms of education, let me give you an example of marriage contract before we go to the workspace. In a marriage contract, Fatima, when, let's say, for example, Muslim women or even traditional or really cultural people, when women are getting married, I keep saying, even in my book, I say it, men know why they're choosing you. A man sits and say, Fatima ticks a box, and they ask you questions. Yeah. Women can attest to this, you know. Yeah. They ask you questions. How will you raise my children? Do you have din? Do you have what do you like? They ask you the good questions that ticks the boxes. Yeah. Women don't ask questions.
True.
You know why?
True.
Because we were not taught how to ask questions. Now empowered women are asking questions. It's becoming a problem. Women don't ask. I don't even remember asking any question.
The other night, I'm sorry that I'm interrupting you. Like the other night, I was talking to a friend of mine, and we were talking about how, as women, we're taught not to choose. We're taught to be chosen.
Yeah, perfect.
And we're taught to be chosen. I feel like that is such a big problem.
It is.
Because if you're just chosen, that means you just take whatever.
You're taking anything.
You know, and the men are the ones choosing. They know what they want. They know, like they want, for example, let's just say as basic as a woman who cooks this, or a woman who does this, or a woman who or a woman who's this tall or this short. You know what I mean? And it's not seen as a bad thing. But when women are the ones who are choosing,
it becomes a problem. Because right now, I've told you, empowered women bring democracy. Yeah. They negotiate. It's okay. You know, like you're asking me if I'm going to give you kids. An empowered woman will also ask, are you going to let me work? Am I going to do ABCD?
Exactly. Are you a good father?
Or are you a good father?
What makes you a good father?
And what makes you a good man? You know, how are you going to treat me?
Exactly.
What's our plan for investment? Now men think now that is being too bold.
Too much, yeah.
Now, but me, I'm saying a man who knows they're the king of the jungle, because I respect men in regards to, no matter how much we talk about gender equality, I also understand gender equity and gender parity. Men will always
men are
be
also such a very big important part of our community.
So men will always be men and women will always be men. But be a man and understand you are the king of the jungle and stay at that lane. Anytime you try to move the other side, it becomes a problem. You even lose your value and you lose your quality. You lose a lot. So.
That's amazing. Honestly, I really love that you touched on that. Maybe one thing I also really wanted to touch on, like the realities of a woman when she levels up, like when she becomes like, when she grows, you know, like, and growth is in her life. Like, for example, when a woman now is more educated, like, because, you know, the thing is with, For example, let me give you a life of an example of a woman who is married, let's say early in her life, and maybe this man chose her because of that, being uneducated, you know, because some men, sadly enough, they want a woman who is not empowered, so that they can have like this sense of control over her, right? Not to say that all men do this, but some men do.
Some,
So, for example, a woman who was not educated gets married to a man. Years later, maybe she's a bit like understanding of the necessities of education, and she wants to go ahead and educate herself. And let's say she does get educated now. She understands things a bit better, and she's grown as a person as well. So now, obviously, the realities of how she was before, even in the sense of that marriage, and now how she is as an educated woman, there's a shift.
There is a shift.
Yes. Can we maybe talk about the realities of a woman of such?
That's deep, you know, like dealing with women. I can tell you that's deep because that's the reality.
Yeah.
And I think we're having the same conversation a few days ago, and I was telling you in regards to women are not told what it means to be empowered.
Yep.
We're just catching up with the reality.
Yeah.
You know, we've not done this before. It's the first life, so we're just living it and just exploring
we're just understanding.
You didn't tell us this is how it's going to get. So, unfortunately, I think that's what hurts me, even as a person who fights for women empowerment and try to empower myself and also tell women to create value and worth for themselves, because it means you might lose family. You might, because family is society is family. You might lose family, you might lose friends, you might lose your partners.
Yep.
Subhanallah, it breaks me just to think about it, because especially as a Muslim woman, for example, let me take myself as an example. If I post something in regards to things like actually that are stated in our Quran, and you say like, it is the duty of a man to provide, and if you're not providing, even Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, don't marry men who are not ready.
Be able to provide.
Don't marry men who are not ready to provide. You have a chance to say, I don't want this. I put something up on social media like that, and you find people attacking you and saying you'll never get married. You're telling women not to do ABCD, like because you're teaching
standards.
Women.
You have standards.
You have standards, you know. And the reality is, if you have too much information, you are not supposed to have too much information, Fatima.
Yeah. That's what they say, but the woman, the older the woman gets, and you know, like the more educated she is, the pool, like, you know, of men or like, you know, goes down. Yeah. Which sometimes I'm like, how is that a problem?
Yeah, but that's the reality.
That's a good
thing. Nobody told us that you are going to lose so much. So much, especially now as Muslims. I feel like you lose so much. You lose your status, you lose because family, your family, like you lose your because at the end of the day, you have too much of a voice, because that's not the normal. The normal is you're supposed to be calm and submissive. And I keep saying submission was not put there because men are better. Men are better species. Men have muscles, or men can fight thieves when they come in the house. Submission was put there because men are, Allah put men, and men are leaders. Like Allah guides them to lead us. It's not about them. It's about Allah guiding them and them leading
the responsibilities
us. So
if you
don't understand God's word, if you don't understand how you're supposed to be a leader in regards to how it's reflected in the Quran, you're not even supposed to. Nobody's supposed to submit to you, because what am I submitting to?
I think the thing is, like, whenever they say they hear submission, means like, oh my goodness, the man is a big man, and the woman is supposed to be the tiny little thing. Submission is submission is kindness. When you are kind to the woman.
Thank you.
And you're not good to her, and you are actually compassionate, you don't even need to tell her to be, submissive. Yeah. She'll automatically be submissive because she feels protected.
Yes.
So it's not something you tell.
Yeah, it's not about muscles.
Yeah, it's about how the woman feels.
Yeah.
And if she feels safe in your presence, if she feels like kindness, and if she feels compassion, she'll automatically submit.
But with that narrative that is being thrown in regards to empowered women being lonely and everything, maybe it was in the beginning because women didn't know how to tap on it. Everything is just a learning curve. When a child is born, you don't know when he will crawl and everything. But when a second child comes, you learn over the years. So over the years, women have learned, this empowerment is making us lose ABCD, which it is, So from a general perspective, women are learning how to love themselves. Women are learning to take themselves on trip and do ABCD.
To be self-aware, to self-love.
Self-love and just fill up themselves. Women are just even having kids with a random man just because I have my money, I can do anything I want, and ABCD, I'm going to fill my space up. But now when you go to now back to our religion, I feel sad because marriage is half of our deen. Yep. But again, I was having the same conversation in another podcast and an Islamic podcast, and we were saying also, there is half deen, but there's also qadar.
Yeah.
If Allah has not decreed for you to get married, you will not get married.
Yeah.
You know?
Whether or not you're leveling up.
Whether you are leveling up. If it's not part of your qadar, it's not.
Yep.
Yeah, there's also that. Yep. But because it's part of our deen and you don't know what your qadar is, you know, you still have that enthusiasm of saying like, I want to be empowered, but I also want to, you know, do half of my deen. But the reality is you're perceived different. Let's put relationship aside. Let's move to workspaces. Yeah. Let's say somebody like me. I've been in spaces where men say like, and that's the thing where we're going to sexual gender-based violence, where men tell you like, if you get the right guy to just handle you right, you're going to relax. But what am I relaxing? Is it that I'm too bold? I know my rights. I speak very boldly. I tell you this is, I can sniff your shit from a very far. Yeah. And now you're telling me because if you dominate me sexually, I'm going to calm down. Yeah. So those are the realities of being empowered. You get, you know, you lose so much.
And why do you even feel like I need to be handled?
But that's the thing. Let me ask you, how else do you think women can be dominated by the other gender? Sure. It's only sexually. They know that's the only way. Because right now you're fighting for equality. Right now you can work and get the same finances as them. Yeah. Right now you can get the same, you can occupy the same offices. You can get the same level of education, even better. Yeah. So what's the one thing they think they can do better in regards to being another gender? It
put you down,
dominating you sexually, which is so bad.
Yeah, oh my God. I think we really got into like so many of the things that I wanted to touch upon. Yeah. Because I feel like the reality, sometimes that's why I always say like, when it comes to the realities of what we think and the thing that actually women go through and, you know, like the experiences they have in their normal day-to-day is absolutely, mashallah, tabarakallah. One other thing, maybe like now that we're talking about society still, like do you think society actually supports empowered women or they just like the idea of them?
Oh, they love the idea. Yeah. They love the idea. Trust me, they love the idea.
Because like empower your women.
Oh, goodness.
The idea is really cute.
The idea is really cute.
But then now when a woman has the, like, you know, the ability to speak up and now she has thoughts, and now she wants to do an input into the, like, you know, then it's like, ooh.
Yeah, then they draw a line. You know, it's the same with policies, in regards to protecting women. They're so cute on paper, you know, there's so many policies. You know, like women are very much protected, you know, in very many policies. Yeah. Like, I don't, like, it just puzzles my mind every time I think about it. But the reality is it's not being implemented on the ground. Yeah. And it's because, again, the shift in societal liberation of the mind. The mind of the society is not liberated because if we have already given you, let's say for example, let's put Kenya on the ground right now. Elections are coming up. You know, 2/3 of the gender thing in regards to the government. But when you go to the ground when doing civic education, it's women who don't vote for other women. Yep. Because the liberation of the mind, women still think men are better leaders. So you can imagine, society loves the idea. They say, I want my daughter to be empowered. But when the reality comes where you have to choose your daughter over your son, you still choose your son. So at the end of the day, I keep saying women empowerment, gender, parity, equality, it can never work if society is not ready for it because it starts from the mind. Yep. It starts from us saying like, we do understand women empowerment, we want women to be empowered, and we're going to vote for a woman. Right now, we have so many women vying for 2027. I can tell you for a fact. I think even somebody asked in the What Women Want Summit in regards to, she went through hell as a woman just to vie for a seat. And when she went to the ground, it's the women who are not voting for her. And they were telling her, no, we prefer the guy. Men are better leaders and everything. So you can see, women are not even supporting other women. But I can also take that back by saying, it's not that we don't support women. Let me tell you, there's nothing as powerful as women coming together. But there's a social construct that was created, and I keep saying this, people need to be careful. It starts from the house. Fatima, if me and you were sisters right now and we're in the house and everybody's just like, Fatima is beautiful. Fatima is beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, it makes me feel some type of way. People need to be careful on how they speak. So women, we expand everything. You know, like men.
Yeah.
Our emotions go deeper. Everything is 10 times better.
Yeah.
If a man loves, a woman loves 10 times. If a man is angry, a woman is angry 10 times. So, you know, like small things go deep in our soul. So in a house where there are girls and every time, Fatima is the most beautiful. Okay, I'll start looking at myself.
It will have a sense of like competition.
So society
and a sense
created
of like,
women to have issues with each other. We don't have issues with each other. It's society. Now, Mariam, every time, Mariam is the smartest. You know, you start asking yourself, don't I have information or
am
what?
I not smart?
Am I not smart? Those small issues, even when we're doing IPV, intimate partner violence in informal settlement, we tell people be careful on how you talk to your children. They're growing up. These are things that are nurturing them. They're going to create trauma. They're going to make them have no confidence in themselves.
Subconsciously, because a lot of the time things just go in without you actually realizing.
So when you put all that in play, you can understand society is playing a very big role. Let me tell you something, even in regards to all the problems we are having, if society comes together, like, you know, like the other time, Gen Z's decided, Gen Z society, they decided we're going to come together and they blew the whole thing up. That is society. So if society holds hands and say, women empowerment, it's this. But, you know, we are also divided, you know. So we have people who support, we have people who don't support. And then there is the gap of information. People think exposure equates information. Exposure is not information. We're all exposed to TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, but information. What is women empowerment? What is feminism? I fought tooth and nail with somebody because I was trying to make them, Fatima, understand feminism. Because feminism is misunderstood on social media.
Very much so. I feel like feminism, just like women empowerment, is really, really misunderstood.
It is. And I was so angry because even me just sitting here, it is feminism. You know, like there's a woman who went on the street. You know, people don't have information. Just the US in the 50s, women could not even vote. They couldn't do anything. Women went on the street and said, we want to vote. One, they went on the street and said, we want to own land. Two, they went on the street and said, we want to be heard, we want to speak, we want to be in the Senate. They made all these things possible. So for us to sit and say, oh, feminism is a lie, we are actually sellouts.
SubhanAllah, you know, like the thing I always think about when it comes to feminism and women empowerment is our deen. And Islam, you know, like one thing that I find so beautiful is that all of this was there way before. Like that's what I mean. Women were always empowered. Women always had rights to have their own land, rights to have, you know, like to have their own things and rights to work. Like it's not something that recently started. It's just that society really changed from how it was. And that's why I always remind people that Islam is perfect. What is messed up is us as a society.
Humans,
because how we interpret things. Because now even when we hear you know, things like what is it called? A woman's money is her money, and a man's money is the family's money. A lot of the time, like, you know, especially now, they're like, oh no, a good wife stays at home. A good wife, what is it called? Does this and this and this, which can be correct, but at the same time does not mean that a woman cannot. If a woman goes out and lives her life and is educated and works and do whatever it is that she wants to get out of life, means she's a bad woman. You know, as we were saying about how, like, you know, the idea of a woman being empowered and the realities are, a lot of the time, especially even subhanAllah, even our own parents, they raise you to be uneducated. You know, a lot of the time you hear, educate your girl so that men don't misuse them, which is amazing. But then now, when the woman is educated, and then
you're not supposed to use it.
And then she gets to an age where, like, oh my goodness, now maybe she's even ready for marriage, or maybe she's even married. For the woman who's ready for marriage, they're like, oh, now your standards are too high. Like, why don't you just get married to anyone? But if you actually you're the one who empowered her to be educated. You're the one who empowered her to reach where she is reaching right now. So for her to have that thought of, like, she wants more of herself, now that's the problem. You know what I mean? And even to a woman who's married and now even let's say within her marriage, like things are going well, maybe her and her husband are in a really good understanding, and maybe she's working and doing her thing, but the society sees like, oh my goodness, the woman is running as much as the man is running. Like, oh my goodness, like she does not cook for her husband. That's a problem. She's too much now. She's like, if she talks in public, oh my goodness, she's too loud.
She's
too aggressive. You know what I mean? So that's why I always say, like, the ideas of what the idea of empowerment is really cute and really nice.
It is.
But then the reality is on the ground. And now that she's, like, talkative, and she's saying how, like, what she's thinking, and she's putting out her thoughts and, like, her opinions out there, then it's a problem, right?
Yeah, it's just, you just have to have the idea, but not put it into place. You know, you have to be educated, but not go and work. You need to know information in regards to your deen, and, like, every time. And that's what I'm telling you, like, even in regards to deen, Islam is perfect, as you've said, but as humans, like right now, anytime I have an argument with a Muslim and I'm telling them, we are allowed to have education and we are allowed to work. Even our Prophet himself allowed his wife to work.
She's a great entrepreneur.
I know, the greatest.
She's actually the one who was funding Islam at that time.
I know, and I'm just like, and then the argument is, but like, she gave the Rasul to, to take care of the finances, so that's the right way. And like, the conversation doesn't end, because we go to points like, right now the realities on the ground is how our spouses, can we trust you in the same regards? Can we trust you with our finances in the same regards? Also, in regards to all these things, women empowerment, people think empowered women don't want to do ABCD. We have information. Let's say, for example, myself here. I do know that it's not my job to cook and clean.
It's not.
Oh goodness, it's not. It's not in regards to women empowerment, and it's not in regards to my religion. It's not. But now, that is me being too much. But it is the truth. And at the same time, it's not my job to cook and clean.
It's not.
But it is your job to still provide. Now, when you put that in place, it becomes a war. Because you're too loud. You are not supposed to say that. I would cook and I would clean, because maybe it's the order of how me and you want to coexist as species in the same house. That's okay. But I do know back in my head, it's not your responsibility. It's not my responsibility.
And that's what I always say. Like, a lot of the time, especially for our Muslim men, they always use religion to put us down. Plus, that's why I always tell women: get yourself educated, read the Quran,
get information,
know what your rights are,
yourself.
Know what your the roles of a man and the responsibilities of a man towards the wife. Know what your responsibilities are towards the man, because then once you have that education, and that's the same thing we're talking about empowerment, right? You also get empowered in your deen. You also get empowered as a woman, because now you know what your rights are. Now you know what is needed of you. The same thing that I always tell, like, especially in our community, you hear a lot of the time, I don't know if it's the same in yours, but you hear a lot of the time where a woman is married, but then the man has lived apart for her for many years, and he's not even providing, So that's why I'm like, that's not even allowed.
It's not.
I'm like, read your Quran, please. Like, if there's any one thing that you get out of this episode, go educate yourself. Educate yourself, like whether, like, with your Quran, with your deen, like
so many
read
ways.
the hadiths, get to know, like, what the Prophet ﷺ was practicing and what his wives were about. Then that itself will empower you. Even leave how this world normally is, because sometimes our society and the way things are can really shift your mind and think that's the reality, which is not true.
But at the same time, while we also say, like, they do this and go to seek this information, the one thing I'll always say as somebody who works in women empowerment spaces, be ready for the realities. And that was your second question.
Yes.
In regards to realities. Go and read and understand your religion. Go and read and understand how you can empower. What is your right? Having all this information is empowerment itself. But be ready for what empowerment
the reality
brings.
Because
as we everything has
a consequence.
And
so the thing is, even like what you said before about how you might lose your marriage.
You might.
Because the thing is, like, you're growing and maybe the man is not growing with you. Then there's that huge disparity, and then also you might even see things that are happening in your marriage that are wrong.
Yeah.
That's what I said before. Like, even when you educate yourself, even when it comes to deen,
Yeah.
you might realize that there's these huge things that the man is doing that is actually against the religion.
Yeah.
And sometimes that itself can even lead to divorce. The same thing as even your friends. You might lose friendship. You might be what is it called? You might not be accepted in the society. And those are a lot of the realities that women face.
Yeah.
So one thing I also wanted to ask is, do you think a lot of women actually shrink themselves to keep the peace and to actually just stay where they are?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's also one of the consequences.
Many.
Because now if you empowered and you feel like you're going into the point of like you might even lose this marriage or you might be in bad space with your, with society.
Yeah.
Now you actually maybe sometimes women even take that stand and be like, you know what? Let me
shrink myself. Let me just relax.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something in regards to women empowerment and women and all these topics. I keep saying, data is there.
Yeah.
We think in regards to the people we hang around. Like right now, if I'm exposed to women like yourself, I don't know, I had 50 women, let's say like the event, what women want.
Yeah.
I tend to think that is the reality. That's not the reality.
Nope.
That is not the reality.
Yeah, that's the high of
And you know what? Every time I hear like, oh, men have been thrown away, boys have been left behind, women are being empowered, I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? What are you talking about?
True.
Which data are you using? Because like if we go back to data, there's nothing like that. Women still need empowerment, and that is the truth. You get it? So, but at the end of the day, even those in workspaces, let me tell you something. I do a lot of panel discussions, and you can see like it's only because, and it's a reality, I have to have so much value in my words and so much information for me to have
to sit in the
stay
same
at
room.
par.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to
Yeah.
just say something
True.
wrong, but it takes so much effort to just stay at par with the male in the same room. And we are all informed, educated. We all do the same thing, but they just need to do the bare minimum, and it is good. But me, and especially one thing I always say, being a woman is already hard, and then being a beautiful woman is harder.
Even harder.
It is harder. So most of the time people think because you're beautiful, you don't have anything in your brain.
Yep.
So you have to deliver.
Yeah,
You have
to stand
deliver.
out there. And like one thing I really love is that and honestly, one of the reasons also that I started this podcast is so that people can see
Yeah.
what women do.
Yeah.
So that, there's the thing of like just talking about it. Oh yeah, like people have reached this far, or like the thought of it, but to actually see it happening.
Actually see it happening.
Like to even see like to put like roles to names.
Yes.
That's huge.
That's
because when
huge.
you actually can say that woman did that, that woman did
woman, you
that
can
means I
point
can
it
do
out.
it too.
Yeah.
That is what like even when it comes to like what is it called representation.
Yeah.
Is exactly that.
Yeah, it's
because if like for us women, even me honestly, even in the hospital setting, there's a lot of the times I faced like when men come into the hospital, I'm like, oh I think this is just the young nurse.
Yeah.
Now let's see the actual doctor.
Yeah. Why would you say such a thing?
And then when I am the actual doctor and I'm there, they're like, oh, you're the doctor?
Yeah.
And it's very, it's actually shocking to them.
Yeah.
And that is why, and because those are the things we've had to go through.
Yeah.
Because those are the discrimination. People don't see that as discrimination, but it is.
Oh my God, you have to work 10 times harder.
Yep.
You have to deliver 10 times harder.
And you have to be bolder.
Or you have to shrink. It's one way or
Yep.
another. There's
no in between.
There's no par.
Yeah.
There's no par.
Yeah.
You cannot come with the same information they have. You either come with the best or you shrink yourself. But in most cases, I can tell you, women are shrinking themselves because that brings peace. Let's say in workspaces, it brings more peace. Things move better if you're speaking less, if you're not having too much opinion, if male dominates.
It's easier.
It goes
it's
back,
easier for the society.
and it takes us back because when we mention dominance, it takes us back to the lion.
Yep.
Men love dominating and conquering.
Yeah.
It is in their nature to dominate and conquer. So even in workspaces, that's what they do. But now it's either for a woman to work 10 times harder, which now for the one thing I keep saying, people don't understand is women, we don't like dominating.
We don't.
We are
Why
just
would we
there
want
to
to
do what
dominate?
we want we are doing.
Yeah.
But now it comes around us dominating.
Yes.
You get it?
Yeah.
So
even the little that you do that is boldness becomes
so
like
that
dominance.
boldness comes as dominance.
Yeah.
But wallahi, many women, many empowered women.
We
Leave alone
don't.
when we're not speaking in podcasts and we're not speaking in all this. When we sit together and we're just having one-on-one.
We are chill.
Women
We are
women.
soft.
We're
Exactly.
so soft.
Yeah.
We just want love. We want to love other people.
Now that we're talking about dominance, I think one thing I really wanted to maybe talk about is the sad reality that women empowerment can sometimes trigger control and violence, especially towards the women who are empowered. Do you think do you think these situations exist that women actually face harm after speaking up or making changes in their personal lives or even in their professional lives?
Oh, definitely. Let's start with professional. In the professional, like it was proved in South Africa, it was so bad that all women are a target of violence, but now empowered women were now a target. Especially now, in regards to violence, women are targeted by either your spouse or somebody very close to you. It's always that in regards to data. But now empowered women are targeted by even strangers. Somebody sees you standing here and speaking and saying, oh, A, B, C, D, men like dominating, or women empowerment brings democracy, and they feel triggered.
They're like, wacha nimfundisha adabu huyu.
Sasa and they say, let me teach you a lesson.
Let
and
me
how
teach
do
this
they
one
teach
a
a
lesson.
lesson? And that bugs me so much because the only lesson men know how to do is either they abuse you sexually or they abuse you economically or physically. You get it? And if you're married, psychologically. People don't speak about psychological abuse enough as it should be. So in workspaces right now, women, not even just in South Africa, even in other spaces of the world, women who are empowered are a target of abuse, but from strangers. So it's bringing a lot of confusion because there's no motive. Kumbe the motive was just you standing there and just saying like, women deserve a right to education, women deserve, you triggered enough because we're living with mad people
Let me tell you a funny story that happened a few months back. I was sitting alone in CJ's having lunch. And then I was doing some errands in town, so I was at the town branch. So I was sitting, because since it was very full, a man joined me. And this man is a lawyer. Okay, so he's a very educated, big lawyer. Okay, so when he sat with me, he was like, oh, there was no seats available. So I was like, it's okay, you can just sit here. I'm about to finish, I'll leave anyways. So he ended up sitting with me. And as he was having a conversation with me, so it was just a little chit chat, like, what are you doing? What do you do? Like, da-da-da. So I just told him what I do, and I told him that I'm a medical doctor and stuff like that. And then he was like, oh, okay, wow. And he was like, he thought that me sitting on a table alone, eating, is empowerment. I'm like, oh, wow, you've actually, you're confident enough to just sit and eat alone. And then one comment that really stuck with me, and the reason why I was telling this story, is that he told me, you're the kind of woman I would not want my wife to know.
Subhanallah.
Like, you're too empowered. You're so confident that I would not want my wife to hang around women like you.
That's the saddest thing.
That is so sad. And that's why I mentioned, I'm like, it is so sad that you think a woman just sitting is not, like, she is way too much.
But Fatima, that's the reality.
Sadly. And this is an educated man. It's not like, as I told you, he's a lawyer.
Let me tell you, it's not the uneducated men that actually, funny enough, that abuse women. It's the educated one. It's the educated ones. Working directly with communities and women in informal settlement. I focus so much on informal settlement because they don't get the opportunities that we get. Let me tell you, women are shocked that you're telling them they can love themselves and take themselves for picnic and buy themselves coffee. There's a time I was talking to this group of women, they were very quiet, and I'm just like, why are you people so quiet? Like, did I say something wrong? And then they're just like, you're so young, we are so old. We wish somebody told us this way early. You've just hit a nerve. Wallahi, Fatima, it was so emotional. They were so quiet and so sad, just simply because I told them, your children will leave you. I love Islam. Your children, you're just a vessel. You're just bringing kids to the world. Allah has used you to bring another human in the world. They're not yours.
No, they're not.
Your husband is not yours. Your parents
you came
are not
into
yours.
this world alone, and you probably live alone.
And I told those women, well, you're sacrificing. And that statement alone people take it very
We're
wrongly.
not meant to sacrifice ourselves.
I was telling them, when you're sacrificing, right now you're 40, you're 45, you've sacrificed your life, all your life for your children, which you should. But while you're sacrificing also for yourself.
You're not supposed to sacrifice. I feel like that word, you're not
The
meant
word
to sacrifice for anyone.
I know.
You have duties and responsibilities toward your kids.
Yes.
But you don't need, one is not equals the other. You don't need to sacrifice yourself.
And I was telling them, like right now you're 40, you're 45.
Yeah.
You've used your life dedicating it to children and a husband. And you know why they were quiet? It's because the realities of not even just children, but husbands, And I told them, husbands are not yours.
Yep.
These are just people Allah has given you for a time.
And you don't even know how long it's going to last.
You don't know how
Who
long
told
it
you
is.
that
They might
it's
die,
going
they
to
might go, things happen.
Yep.
And you've just stopped your whole life loving
For
yourself
them.
and everything for them.
Yeah.
And then your children, they get to age, they're 18, they're 19, I want to go to uni, and they leave you. You are left alone.
And that's the way, honestly, a lot of the time I tell women, don't even when you're introducing yourself, don't introduce yourself as roles.
Yeah.
Because as women, we're taught,
a wife.
be a wife, be a mom,
I'm a mom.
be a daughter, be somebody, someone.
No, I am Mariam. You are yourself.
You are yourself.
Yeah.
Like even the little thing of the essence of how even in Islam we're not really allowed to take our husband's name.
Thank you.
That tells you that you are your own. Being married doesn't change anything. You can still continue and live a good life all on your own.
Let me tell you, women are shocked that you can just sit on yourself. Because let me tell you something, even when you're doing financial literacy, we teach women, as much as we go into deep financial literacy, we go to spaces now we are telling them, in that financial literacy, make sure you have some money for yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if you're earning 500 Kenya shillings, even if you're earning 5,000 Kenya shillings, make sure there's a time you can just sit somewhere and have juice for 100 shillings and say, I'm just treating myself because I deserve it. Because I'm beautiful. And I deserve everything good in the world. That alone is empowerment.
It really is.
But now that's not the empowerment society wants you to have. They want you to have it in regards to a thought process. But when you're implementing it, you're being named. You don't take care of your children enough. You don't love your children. You don't take care of your home. You're not a good mom. You're not a good wife. You're not good in ABCD. You're just given a lot of labels.
Yeah.
But the reality is,
you're just loving yourself.
Shrinking themselves so much just to fit a narrative on how we want to be perceived in workspaces, in relationships,
in
at home.
Lives, Before we finish, I wanted to ask one question. I think we keep going back to our society because I think our society really makes up how we live our lives. So what do you think needs to change in our society to better protect women who are trying to grow and leave harmful situations? And maybe let me just put this in, what do you think empowerment actually looks like for sustainable women? How can we make empowerment sustainable for women?
Yeah. I think it all starts, I don't know, I would always say we start by liberating our minds, I see the way our aunties, our grandmothers, they think it's very different from how we're thinking. Yeah. But also, we're moving towards a very different generation. Yeah. Gen Zs are very different from millennials.
They really
Gen Alpha will be very different.
Which they should.
They should,
I feel like the world is changing.
Yeah, and they're creating a space for themselves where... what I don't like is they're creating a space where marriage is no longer an option. Yeah. Marriage is gone. To them, they don't see the importance of marriage. No, unlike us, we were just, which was a very important part. But when you remove marriage and you're just looking at empowerment in other scopes of life, I feel like Gen Zs are already creating a space where things are not seen and perceived as they were in millennials' time, Even the Gen Z boys, we are already triggering the conversation. Unlike the other generation, no conversation was triggered. Yeah. It was just something that they started seeing women are empowered. They're confused. How do we handle you, Fatima? Yeah. How do I start talking to you? I was okay when I was talking to you and you did not have all this information.
And how I grew up, is very different now.
Yeah, I was okay when Fatima didn't have all this information. Now you have this information. I don't know how to handle you. But now this other generation of Gen Zs, even boys are learning.
Because now they grew up in a home where the woman is empowered.
Thank you. Women are empowered. And even this single mother thing, they're saying it's bad and everything. Me, I always say everything has a good and bad side to it. Single mothers are bringing up boys who have empathy and sympathy for boys.
For women.
And also single motherhood is bringing up bad men. Yeah. It's give or take. Yeah. But me, I focus on the positive because in life, you you focus on what you have. Even if it's negative, you try to make something out of it. So I always focus on the positive. And the positive is the next generation are not seeing life the way we used to see it. They're not seeing the way the other generation used to see it. They're already creating a space for themselves where they're understanding we are dealing with empowered women. I don't see Gen Z's men or boys rather, complaining so much like the other generation regards to women empowerment. They don't complain so much.
Because I feel like it's something they've seen, they've used to.
They're used to it. They're just saying like, oh, I just need to find money so that I can just get myself a good woman. You know, women working is not a big deal for them. They've lived in homes where women are working. But now the other generation is where the gap is. But at the end of the day, I usually say, the generational gaps, there's nothing you can do with a generation that is already passed. You focus on the generation that is there and the one that's coming. So the one that is there, it is us. And we are now creating a space where the next generation will not be fighting for the same things that we have been fighting for.
That's why I always say, like, as women, when you just live your life authentic, that itself is... it's an example for the woman who's coming. You know, even for me, honestly, when because I have a young daughter, and when I say like every single time I live my life to the happiest and to the best way that I can for myself, it shows her that she can also do the same. You know, because sometimes it's very different when you say, go learn, go do this, go educate yourself. But then when you actually are a living example, I feel like that's the best thing that we can do as a society.
It is. And you know, like... we need to scream about women elevating themselves because, Fatima, at the end of the day, everything will, you know, time has changed. Even economy is different. It's so funny that people want us to live like people were living in the 50s. And
which it
even
won't happen. Things are different.
Right now. Things are very different. You know, like you look at economy, you look at the statistics of how life is going, you look at so many things and then you realize you don't have an option but to elevate yourself.
Exactly.
Women need to elevate themselves because at the end of the day, when all the dust settles, you need to look at yourself in the mirror and be proud of yourself for who you are. Apart from just... oh, I was a good mom. Oh, I was a good wife. No. Oh, I was a good servant in the civil society. No.
Who are you to you?
What did you do for yourself that you know you feel like I am living my authentic self, even if we don't agree with it? And that's the reality of life. As a Muslim, I always say, I don't like judging people on how they live their lives.
Because you don't really know what
we don't even know, you know, like it's only Allah who judges. I read a post somebody said, why are we saying we're not supposed to judge? And even Allah has already judged.
With that being said, as we wrap up, if a woman listening to this wants more for herself, but feels scared of what might come with that, what would you say to her?
If a woman did what?
If a woman listening to this now wants more for herself, but feels like she's scared of what that might mean, what would you say to her?
Or Breast for Impact. When I've gone through the worst time of life, I've realized the people who have come the hardest to comfort me have also like empowered me so much. Because, you know, like sometimes when you have to go through things, you need people to just tell you the truth and not just pamper you and tell you it's going to be good, you know, don't worry, everything is going to be okay. No. You just need to Breast for Impact. Sometimes you just need to know the reality. If you want empowerment and, you know, you're thinking what that means for you, first, buckle up. Because it's not going to be an easy journey. And even if it's going to be an easy journey, you're going to lose so much for you to just achieve. And I'm not even talking about empowerment to be working well or doing well. Just empowerment, just you empowering yourself with either education, whether information, whether knowledge, whether exposure, even that. Even you just taking yourself in a restaurant and you say like, today I feel like I'm very beautiful and I feel like, oh, I need to treat myself. That is empowerment. And that alone can trigger so much. So you just need to I will say Breast for Impact, but at the end of the day, live your authentic self. And remember that as a woman, everybody goes. While you're sacrificing and saying like, oh, I need to sacrifice, you know, for my family, for my kids, for my husband, for my in-laws, for my mom, for my dad, everybody will go. And this applies for both genders. And that's why I love men. You know, men are very logical. You know, let me just add something. In regards to how we talk about gender, we tell women, when a man thinks about 4 things in regards to thought process. Himself. Mom, their mom. They're not that bad. Themselves, and then their mom. If they think about themselves, there are those that don't even think about themselves. Their mom, you're not there. Their mom, their kids, their siblings, and then you come next. Hypothetically speaking, women, we are taught my husband, my husband, my husband,
And
my
then
children.
my parents.
Your parents are not even there.
Commission.
When you get married,
Yeah, your
you're
husband and your
confused
kids
because
first.
in the deen it said, Jannah is under the feet of your husband. Now your parents have disappeared.
Yep.
You know, you remove your parents. It's your husband, your husband, your husband, and then your children. You people are not leveling up the same.
True.
You get it? So it's just about you understanding that at the end of the day,
It's you and you.
You
Yeah.
know, it's you and then you and then you. So
Yeah.
make decisions in your most
That favors
authentic
that
self.
and the favors.
Yes.
Okay, one more thing that I would really like to say about like to women listening to this
Yeah.
is that it really relates also to what you said, because sometimes in life you give, it's like everything is a give and take.
Yes.
So when you get information and you get that empowerment
Yes.
that we were talking about, you also have to give.
You
and
have to
giving
give.
that sometimes is the relationships.
Yes.
It's the friendships.
It is.
It's the, like, you know, all of that
It
sometimes
is.
might go.
It
And,
is.
you know, like, you just be prepared for that. And another thing I would also like to say is that at the end of the day, you are your own responsibility as
You
a woman.
are.
So just don't take that lightly.
You are.
And, like, you know, just embrace yourself, enjoy life.
And it's okay to be sad, Fatima.
okay.
I think
It's okay, yeah.
I think we should.
Because, you know, life comes as waves. Not every
Yeah.
single time is a high. Sometimes it's a low. It's okay.
we,
and you just
we
go
tend
through
to
the waves.
make women feel like it's a bad thing
You
to
always
be
have to
sad,
be high,
especially empowered women. You are sad because you're empowered. You're not sad because you're empowered. You're sad because you're a human being.
Yeah.
You're going through phases in life. Today you're sad. Today you're happy. And even the women who don't want to be empowered, they are sad at some point.
Yeah, and
Everybody
it's
is sad
okay.
at some point. So it is okay for you to feel some type of way, lonely,
Sometimes
sad,
even that lonely
not
and sad
sure.
is the door
It is.
to better things.
It is. So
Thank
it
you
is
so
okay.
much for being here,
You're
Mariam.
welcome.
We
You're
really
welcome.
appreciate. I feel like I really enjoyed this conversation.
Oh, thank you. Me too. yeah.
MashaAllah, tabarakallah. Thank you so much for coming. Do you want to maybe tell people where they can find you before we wrap up?
Oh yeah. On Instagram at Hussein Mariam Ali, Hussein Mariam Ali on
Yeah.
all platforms.
Yeah. And,
Mostly Instagram and LinkedIn.
And I am Worth.
And I am Worth organization in LinkedIn and Instagram as well.
MashaAllah. Thank you so much. I know it was like a rough morning for you to be here.
Yeah,
so we
yeah.
appreciate
It's
you.
okay.
Thank you so much.
It's okay.
And for you guys listening, if you have any conversation for Mariam and you would like to ask anything about women empowerment, or if there's anything that maybe you've misunderstood and you want to ask more, please do so. Maybe we might have Mariam another
one,
time,
yeah.
right?
We continue the conversation.
Yes. Thank you so much for being here. Keep growing, guys. Keep growing, no matter where that takes you. Thank you so much for being here. Make sure you subscribe and like this conversation. If you have not shared this to anyone, please go share it to all the women and men in your life so they can understand the conversation that we've been having. Thank you so much, and assalamu alaikum.